In shooting accuracy, I think one of the most important things to learn is breath. There's a lot of things important, but breath control is a very important one. There's different ways to do that. Some people hold their breath. A technique I use, and I've taught other people to successfully utilize it, is that just in your normal breathing, you know, as you exhale, when you get through with an exhale, there's several seconds before you're, you know, you want to breathe again. So what I've taught people and what I do, and this is if I've got plenty of time to shoot a deer, or if I'm shooting bench rest, I'm totally relaxed, and there's no hurry. As I'm exhaling, I start tightening up on the trigger, because from the time I start exhaling until I want to draw a breath again, which I don't want to be breathing in, you know, as I'm squeezing the trigger, that would mess me up. But as I'm exhaling, it's just real smooth, and when I get through exhaling, if the gun hadn't gone off, I still got, you know, another 4 or 5 seconds before I want to breathe again. But try that. Just start squeezing the trigger as you begin to exhale, you know, just normally. And then sometime from the time you start exhaling to the time you want to draw a breath again is 7 or 8 seconds. You want that gun to go off sometimes during that period. You never want to say, I'm fixing to shoot right now, and pull the trigger. You'll never shoot an accurate group like that. You want to say, I'm going to shoot in the next 6, 7 seconds. So you start squeezing that trigger, and while you're squeezing, all of a sudden, boom! It should always catch you off guard when that gun goes off. That way you'll always shoot a real good group. I picked up this stick a minute ago because I wanted to show you something else about accuracy. I forgot to bring something a little nicer with me, a shooting stick or something. But let me show you a trick here about hunting and a jet going over. When you're in a shootout house, you know, you've got a shelf. There's a window here, most shootout houses in the woods, and most people lay their rifle right up on this shelf. But what are their elbows doing? You know, their elbows are just loose out here. If you'll put I just have me a piece of PVC pipe sticking over in the corner there, and instead of just, you know, letting my elbows flop like this, I put my gun out the window. You know, a lot of people put their left hand over the barrel, and that's fine if that works for you. But instead of putting my left hand over the barrel, you see, I put the gun out the window, I get my shooting stick out of the corner here, and I put my hand, I make a fist and just grip this shooting stick anywhere on it right here. And I see the gun's out the window. See look at what my elbow does on my fist here. And just try that. You talking about sturdy? When I shoot a deer, my heart starts beating. I still get excited. And I don't care if it's 100 yards. I'm excited. And them crosshairs are moving. But what if he is 350 and I know I can make the shot? He's a lot harder to hit at 350 than he is at 100. So do I want up there, you know, trying to hold it still even though I've got a rest on the rail of that shootout house? Or do I want to get my little piece of pipe, put it up under my right arm here just like this? It's almost like a bench rest. It's so much sturdier. But that's a good tip. If you'll try it, I believe you'll like it. Another tip is about the safety harnesses. You know, we all wear a safety harness bow hunting or gun hunting for safety, number one. But we learned years ago, we started bow hunting back in the 60s when, you know, there was no safety harnesses or we made our own tree stands back then. So we better have something around us. So we just put ropes around us because those things can slip sometimes. But one thing we learned about those ropes is not only were they safe, it made you feel safer. Whenever you went to shoot with a bow or with your rifle, I always get my safety ropes pretty tight around my chest enough that I would lean into it. And if I had to lean out to make an awkward shot behind me, or with a bow, even at a more severe angle, one thing is I quit worrying about falling. I was totally relaxed, which made me make a better shot. But I was so much sturdier with that rope around me. So when you wear your safety harness, and you know, keep that in mind. You know, just trust it. You know, you get up there and practice. You know, practice out of your tree stand. You know, and set that safety harness to where and it can work just like a shooting rest. We'll talk about caliber of rifles. A big mistake I've seen people make over the years, they'll shoot a deer and they'll lose him They'll track blood. They'll tell me, man, I tracked blood for a half a mile, shot him right behind the shoulder, and I never did find him. You know what they do a lot of times? Then they want to buy a bigger caliber rifle. I need something with more power. You know what? They're doing exactly opposite of what they should be doing. I shoot a 243. And I shoot it for a lot of reasons. It's plenty sufficient to kill a deer, but I shoot it because there's very little recoil, and I'm so relaxed when I shoot it. I enjoy shooting it anytime during the year. You don't have to suffer a lot of recoil. And the other side of the coin is I've helped people track a lot of deer. I've killed a lot of deer in my life. As we were growing up, you know, we harvested deer like I guess a cattle farmer does beef. You know, we put a lot of deer in the freezer, so we shot a lot of deer. You know, I've never tracked a deer over 100 yards, and maybe I could think of one or two exceptions, but rarely, I can't even think of one right now, that was hit anywhere in the vital area. They just can't stand it. These guys that shoot these deer, and they say they hit them in the vital area, they don't. They either hit them in the leg, you know, or somewhere where they can get blood. And by going to a bigger caliber, they're just not going to be as accurate as they would be with a lighter caliber. So don't make that mistake. Don't think you've got to have this more power to kill a deer. Find you a caliber that you feel real comfortable shooting. And I know nowadays they've got nicer recoil pads, so if you want to use a little heavier caliber and get you a good recoil pad, wear earplugs whenever you're, or earmuffs whenever you're practicing anything, because if you ever get to where you're expecting that recoil, you're never going to be a good marksman, whether you're hunting or shooting at a target. You always, like I say, you always want to be relaxed. I like to teach people to shoot with a 22, because when people learn to shoot with a 22 and wear the earmuffs, there's nothing to shock them. There's no recoil. And then as they go to a bigger caliber, I try to tell them to keep that same mindset. And if you've started flinching, if you've been shooting a big rifle and you think you're a person that jerks the trigger, go back to a 22 and just learn to relax, squeeze that trigger. And I promise you, you'll be a lot better shot. Well, I hope some of these tips have helped you today. This has been a 4-part series, and we'll see you next time.